Hi, and welcome to Mountain Mover. I am Landis. Thanks for joining. We'll start off just kind of recapping the last show we had, where I told my story of growing up without hands and feet, and playing baseball and not letting the missing hands and feet stop me, and how my faith has played a role in that growing up, and the people that I've put around me to support me and push me and not let me kind of give up. After that, we talked with my varsity baseball coach, Mitch Massard. He was a phenomenal baseball player. Whenever he played, he won two state championships, and a national championship in Florida in high school. He forewent the 2007 MLB draft to sign with Florida International University, then transferred to Ball State University. Ended up tearing his labrum in his pitching shoulder, which killed his playing career. And he talked about how he worked through that and the mental state that he was in, and how his faith played a role in getting him through that and continuing to just enjoy life, even though he couldn't play the game that he loved so much. So I want to talk about on this show a little bit before we bring our guest on, how you have to put people around you to better yourself. You constantly have to be improving yourself as a person. You don't want to just be, satisfied with where you're at. And, it starts with the people you put around you to, push you and make you a better person. You got to have people that are pushing you to get to success, people that are giving you opportunities to be successful. And with those opportunities, you can't be afraid to take those opportunities. God's going to open up the opportunities for you. He's going to open up doors for you to be successful. And you have to trust that that opportunity is the right one for you, and that he's going to lead you down the right path to get you, to be your success story and his perfect plan. For me, part of the opportunities that God's opened up for me is, giving back to my community. I've gotten the opportunity to help with a kid named Chase Merriweather. If you've watched my documentary, Landis, Just Watch Me, you'll see towards the end, Chase, man, he's younger than me. He's missing his hands and feet, and he has kind of the same drive that I do to play sports. And, he just has a genuine joy and love of life just every day. That's not to say that he doesn't have challenges and that he doesn't struggle in life, but he finds ways to, push along. And, I'm super thankful that I've had the opportunity to mentor him along the way and be that person there that's able to answer questions for him and help him through some of the tough things in life that, other people don't really understand. It's nice to be able to fill those shoes that, other people did for me. I had older people whenever I was younger that were helping me out and giving me advice on how to be successful and how to just get through everyday life, just doing, some small things that most people wouldn't find to be all that difficult. And to go along with that is you have to have kind of a what's next mentality. You can't be satisfied with reaching your goal. I had the goal of playing varsity baseball. I met that my freshman year. I didn't let that stop me from continuing. I said, what's now? So what's next? I have to continue to push. I have to continue to find new things and drive to be better. So I saw that as an opportunity. I want to be the guy that helps my team win. I want to be the guy that helps my team win a state championship. I just want to continue to improve and make a difference. I wasn't satisfied with just playing varsity baseball. I wanted to be, that guy on the team. So now we'll bring in our guest, Eric Cochran. He is the founder of Taikuli Productions. He filmed for National Geographic for many, many years. He filmed and produced the new documentary called Landis, Just Watch Me, available on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and Google Play, starring me. Over the years, the last 8 years, we've known each other. He's become one of my best friends and pretty much family now. So, Eric, welcome, and thanks for joining.
Hey, Landis. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. What's happening?
Just having a little bit of fun. So we'll start it off, kind of relating back to the sports side of things. You were a really good tennis player back when you were in high school. Can you tell us a little bit about your tennis career and how it kind of came to an end?
Well, yeah, I mean, I started playing tennis when I was about 6 years old, and all I ever wanted to do in my life is to be a professional athlete. And unfortunately, when I was about 16, 17 years old, I sustained a pretty horrific injury, ended up having kind of the equivalent of Tommy John surgery on my elbow. And that was kind of the end of that. And so I had to find some other outlet for, both my passion for sports and for creativity. And filmmaking seemed like the next logical step for me. I always wanted to, my dream was to work for National Geographic. And so I just kind of figured out a way how to do it, in a way, a little bit like your story, Landis. I mean, I had a lot of people tell me that I wasn't, it was an impossible thing to do, that, the odds were against me. And I just, wanted to prove everybody wrong and follow my dream of working for National Geographic. So I just kind of figured out a way how to do it and ended up doing it, I don't know, for about 30 years. I mean, I still do. I still work for National Geographic and do all kinds of crazy stuff when I'm not following you around. And, yeah, man, that's kind of how it all happened. Really. It's just an outlet for creativity and, the sense of adventure and the sense of wanting to tell amazing stories. That's Philly Craig right there.
That is Philly Craig.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how it all started, Landis. I mean, it just kind of stemmed from, trying to find something in life that, is a calling, a passion. And for me, storytelling has always kind of been that passion.
All right. So that's great. And so after high school, you took a gap year where you just rode your bike around Australia. Tell us a little bit about your adventures doing that and, what you experienced.
Well, that stems from my inability to sit inside. That's a tough one for me. And I found the idea of going to college initially a little bit off-putting. I mean, I always wanted to go, but I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do initially after I couldn't play tennis any longer. So I needed a year to kind of, quote unquote, find myself and figure out kind of what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided to pack up a bicycle with a tent and, very minimalistic approach to life, and just sort of took a year and rode my bike around both islands of New Zealand, up the coast of Australia, through parts of Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, and just kind of figure some stuff out. And it was the best thing I ever did in my life.
That's fun. I'm sure that was a great time. Got to experience some cool things, but I'm sure not as cool of things as you've experienced while filming with National Geographic the last 30 years. And you said you still are. So what are some of your, I guess, favorite shows that you've filmed over the years?
I did a show called World's Toughest Fixes that was the most fun show I've ever done in my life. We had a great host, and we basically went all over the world fixing the most difficult, biggest things that break on Earth. We did like, a nuclear power plant, the London Bridge, the Hadron Collider underground in CERN, Switzerland, all kinds of stuff. And it was really, really fun to do all that and to get to experience those types of things. It was kind of like an engineering show on steroids. And so that was really cool. And then I followed around a guy named Brady Barr for about 10 years. And we went all over the world capturing every species of crocodile on the planet. And that was, that made a man out of me, Landis. I'm not going to lie. It did.
So tell us kind of the ups and downs of the filming world, especially with National Geographic. And, I'm sure there's some really high moments and there's some low moments that make it really tough.
It's not as glamorous as everybody thinks. I will pull the veil off that for sure. It's very, very hard. A lot of times, like I was the guy for some reason that got sent to, I guess because I had a good attitude and I was always kind of positive and upbeat. I was the guy that they would send to, the most kind of challenging places on Earth, where it was, you're living in tents and, getting eaten by bugs and, it's humid and raining. And I mean, nobody ever thinks about what it takes to make those shows. There's a lot that goes into it. And, you just got to, like you got to surround yourself with really positive, good people that can help you kind of get through that stuff, because it can be really challenging. But it does kind of, cross over to life today for me, where, I now have this sort of, I've been fortunate enough to see the world and see the good and bad that's out there, and, tell a lot of good stories. And that's kind of, one thing that led me to your story was all the experience that I'd had in my life, traveling around the world. And I was always in search of, that one story that spoke to me, and that one story that I wanted to devote my time and energy to. And, and that was when I met you, when you were just a little 8-year-old.
Just that little fat roly-poly 8-year-old you always talk about.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you were 8, so it's okay. You were just kind of, you were coming into your own there, but you had the attitude and the spirit that I was always looking for, for a story, and obviously the inspirational aspects to it, is what drew me to it. But honestly, I mean, everything I did leading up to that, I feel kind of led me to that. I think, it's challenging to spend 8 years telling a story. And I don't think I would have been able to do it had I not had the kind of the training I had before in life. You know what I mean?
Well, with that said, let's talk about the last 8 years and some of the fun times we've had. I'll let you tell a little story about the first interview you did of me and how that went.
Ooh, Landis, I thought we were in trouble, buddy. I'm not going to lie. I remember turning to my cameraman and at the time and telling him that I thought maybe I'd made a huge mistake. You didn't really enjoy sitting still. You were very resistant of the process, but you were 8 years old. So, I was just a little bit confused and concerned about how I was going to do it, because you did not want to be interviewed. You refused, and you did not make you weren't shy about it. And you really let me know that it was really going to be a challenge for me. And so we just figured out another way to do it. And that's just kind of what we did. And then now when I interview you, you're amazing. So you kind of grew into it.
Yeah, I think it worked out a little bit. I think the only line from that first interview in the movie is, "When I grow up, I want to play baseball." Is that the only thing that made the cut, I think?
Well, yeah, I mean, but what you said was specifically, you said, "When I grow up, I want to play baseball for the Yankees." That's what you said. Because when you were little, and I know you're still a huge Yankee fan, but like you were obsessed with wanting to become a player for the Yankees. And so what's happened through the last 5 years, knowing that you said that, has been astonishing, because of the relationship that you've been able to carve out with that organization and the love that they've given us. It's funny because, we've both kind of reached our goal in that way. I always wanted to work for National Geographic and tell stories like this, and you always wanted to kind of be engaged with the Yankees in a big way, and we both kind of achieved it. It's really interesting.
We have kind of did it together a little bit.
It's crazy. We totally did it together. And I am just really, really thankful for, because I'm a little older than you, a lot older than you. When you were little, I realized, and I remember I would always come home and tell people, because you were too young to really understand what that experience did for you, and how that sort of gave you the work ethic that you have today, and the spirit that you have today, and the competitive fire you have today. It's by osmosis, in a way, of getting to be around those pro athletes and getting to be, among some of the greatest, baseball players ever, and having them take you in and teach you and show you the way. And I remember when Alex Rodriguez took you away into the back room, and you got to, go hang out with the team and eat with the team and hang out with I mean, I don't know, at the time you probably didn't realize, how incredible of an experience that was. And, the way Joe Girardi opened up, the doors for you to let you do that. I'm sure now you understand how valuable that was.
Yeah, I do now, but back then I didn't realize how much of a game changer it was for me. But
Mhm.
now that I've got to reflect on it, the last couple of years, I get to see how that's really, I got to see what they did and how they were working, and I can relate that back to what I do every day to better myself as a player. And that's it's been a big difference maker for me. That most people don't get. They don't get to see what professional athletes are doing behind the scenes. And I got the opportunity to see that. I've gotten to see that multiple times throughout my life. And one of the ones I'm most thankful for is, getting to have a relationship with both of our friend, Joe Musgrove. You introduced us, and it's just kind of blossomed from there.
Well, I knew, I've known Joe quite a while. And I remember the first time I met Joe, I was instantly just completely taken by his kind of his work ethic and his attitude and just his personality. And so I knew that he was somebody that I really wanted you, whether we filmed it or not for the movie, he was somebody I really wanted you to know, and really somebody I wanted you to kind of look up to. And just because I always thought, when you were younger, that he would be somebody that would be a role model for you, that you would be able to follow. So
Yeah. So another cool film you got to do was while Joe was in Double A with the Houston Astros, him and Alex Bregman playing together.
yeah.
Uh, Talk a little bit about the what you experienced while you were there.
Well, I got to experience minor league baseball, and I got to, it's a concept that I'm still working on, and I was putting together at the time called the call up. And I've always been really interested in the whole idea of what it takes to become a professional baseball player. And I just think there's great stories out there. And I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity with the Houston Astros to get to hang out with their Double A organization. And that's where I met Joe and some of the other players that came up through there, Alex Bregman and a guy named Teoscar Hernandez and some other really good guys. Rodney Linares was the manager, and he's now the third base coach for the Tampa Bay Rays. And I don't know. I mean, just that was the most amazing experience for me, and it changed my life completely, just because getting to see, just like you when you were young, getting to see and be up close with that type of atmosphere and environment, because you could tell right away the guys that there was a pretty good indication who was going to make it to the show. You could tell by the work ethic. You could tell Musgrove was, aside from injury or whatever, that he had the work ethic, he had the attitude, the fortitude. Bregman was the same way. Bregman was the first guy to get there in the morning and the last guy to leave every night. The guy just ate. His whole attitude was, not am I going to make it to the show, but I want to be the best that's ever played. I mean, that's kind of the attitude that a lot of these guys that really become great have. There's no doubt they're going to make it. It's just how great are they going to be? I mean, that's their attitude going in, and that's as young kids. And so I think you have to have that swagger. It kind of rubbed
Yeah.
off on you a little bit too, Landis, honestly. And I think that's me giving you a compliment, because I think that that's what's gotten you through a lot of your challenges and difficulties, is you have that swagger and you have that attitude of, I'm going to prove everybody wrong, even though it's hard, even though it takes a lot of work, I'm going to show the world what I can do. And I think you have to have that attitude if you're going to make it in any capacity of sports.
And that's another thing that, like you said, I didn't realize I was picking up on it back, 6 years ago when we were doing stuff with the Yankees.
Yeah.
And A-Rod took me back and, just spent time with me, is that mentality. I didn't realize then that that's what I was going to pick up, but I've definitely realized over the last couple of years that that's something that really rubbed off on me. So let's talk back to our story. Let's talk about how we met, how you found me, and, kind of the thought process you had of thinking, what, I want to film this kid.
Well, Landis, to be honest, I was researching. I'd spent about 3 years researching ideas for a feature-length documentary, and I'd come across something on the internet about the Wounded Warriors being in Mission Viejo, California, where I live. And so I went out to the baseball field to check them out. And it just so happened that the first thing I saw was a guy named Matias Ferreira, who's in the film, tossing balls to you while you were hitting. And I no longer cared about the Wounded Warriors after watching you hit for the first 30 seconds. And you had the bat tucked against your body like this, and you were just hitting moonshots out over the third baseman. And I had never seen anything like that in my life. And I remember going home and telling my wife, I think I just saw the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. And so I got the nerve to go back the next day and introduce myself to your mom and explained kind of what I did for a living, gave her my card, and then ended up kind of talking to you a little bit after the game. And I was going through a weird little phase at that time. I don't know why, but I had a Red Sox hat on. And you being a big Yankee fan instantly started giving me a hard time about it. And, you know, I found that completely endearing, and I liked it. You started kind of talking smack to me after knowing me for about a minute and a half. And I don't know. And that's just kind of how it all started. And then, you know, we just kind of snowballed into this sort of relationship and story that just sort of unfolded over 8 years. So that's how it started.
Well, we've talked about how it started, the first interview. So let's talk about what happened once we released it. This summer, we went around going from stadium to stadium, throwing out first pitches, just enjoying spending time together. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I don't know about you, but that was the most fun month I've ever had in my life. And I think, you know, getting to, you know, work with Major League Baseball and some of these different organizations, you know, the Giants, the Yankees, the Astros, the Padres, the Cubs, the Phillies. I mean, it's been, you know, something I'll never forget, and something I hope we can continue to do next year if you want to, because I just think that it gives us a platform. You know, this movie was made, you know, to kind of motivate and inspire people. And I think that, you know, Major League Baseball has helped to give us a platform at some of these stadiums for you to tell your story and to do a lot of local press. And I just think share your story with millions of people, which is, I think, was the whole point of the movie, of making the movie. And to work with, you know, Challenge Athletes Foundation and, you know, whoever else wants to come on board with us. But, you know, I mean, what was your favorite moment? I mean, I think the Yankee experience was my favorite, to be quite honest.
That's
You know, I think
100%.
you being featured at Hope Week was, you know, might've been the coolest thing I've ever seen as a filmmaker in all my life was, you know, watching the way that organization embraced you and the way the media embraced the story and the way you handled and conducted yourself, you know, made me feel really proud of you, because you know, when I first met you, like we said earlier in the show, how resistant you were to doing interviews and, you know, being in front of the camera, and then watching you, you know, in front of 50 cameras from all over the world, from some of the biggest news organizations on earth, handling yourself like an old wily veteran was, you know, made me feel really, really happy to see how you have, you know, taken and run with this opportunity that this documentary is giving you, and to tell your story and to help and motivate and pay it forward, and, you know, work with Challenge Athletes Foundation. And you know, I just think it's, you know, I was really proud of you watching that. And that for me was the best moment. So I don't know what yours was, but that was mine for sure.
I agree 100%. Our time at Yankee Stadium, they treated us amazing and just let us have a lot of fun. That was definitely my favorite part. Eric, thank you so much for joining. It's been a great time.
Thank you so much, Landis, man. And I love your show, man. Keep it up.
Of course. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for watching Mountain Mover. I am Landis Sims. Have a great night, and check out the trailer for the documentary.
When Landis was little, he had a little ball and bat in the house. That's all we ever heard was baseball, baseball, baseball.
I first found out I was 8 months pregnant, that he was missing parts of each of his limbs. I don't even know how to explain that day. That day was just by far the hardest day I've ever had.
This baseball is something I didn't even dream of him wanting to do.
This takes hours and hours of practice, right, bud?
Yeah.
Yep.
He's told me he's going to be the first baseball player to be missing all 4 limbs.
Good job, buddy.
That hurts. I know there's going to be times that it's going to be hard for him, but with the right equipment,
Yeah, there you go.
with the right tools, with the right people supporting him, I don't know what that kid will accomplish in his life.
When I grow up,
I want to play baseball. I'm headed to high school, and my goal is to make the varsity baseball team.
Playing Little League is one thing. Landis is going to have to work a lot harder than the average kid to be able to play at the high school level.
He has had coaches over the years tell him, you can't play baseball. He has had kids tell him, you can't play baseball. And he has just looked at them, and he doesn't say anything, because then he just goes out and shows them.
I've always had challenges in my life, but that's never scared me. Everybody's got something that they've got to work through. I know all odds are against me right now on making this team.
There's something that's inside this kid that makes him different than most every other kid.
People seeing me how I am, they wouldn't think I'm here to play varsity baseball.
Accelerate.
But I'm here to prove everybody wrong and show them that I can.
It's unbelievable.
We're getting ready to play on Victory Field. It's in 78 days.
Shoot three! Right here, go to it, three!
My name is Landis Sims, and I believe anything is possible.
Sport!